Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mensa game. And I hope you guys are having a brilliant weekend as well as day, and just having a good week. And I hope you guys really enjoyed the last video I released, which was on Michael Jackson and success. It got a few, in my standards, it got a pretty high view count, so I'm assuming people tuned in and resonated with that in regards to success being very subjective and success not being related to material, rather how you carry yourself in your day-to-day life. And connecting to that podcast episode, I'm going to talk about, and I think I made a past episode also regarding the topic I'm going to talk about today, and that was the noise. And essentially, this podcast episode will also refer to the noise. And during the last episode, not last, but during the episode, I think it was episode 8 where I talk about the noise, I labeled the noise as essentially external people, external media, external physical people, and essentially the world around us. And I consider that the noise. And that would be the same in today's episode. And more particularly, I want to talk about two brackets of the noise. And the first bracket essentially is normalizations, or adhering to norms. As I go through on with my life, as I experience life, I noticed that our world has created, or Earth rather, has created systems. Humans have created systems which have been built upon for centuries, decades, and many, many years essentially. And these systems are used to create standards which humans live and abide by. And these systems have actually been integrated into our souls, where we indirectly follow them without even knowing. And let me give you an example of a system. For example, an example of a system is where we join kindergarten. We do our kindergarten years. And if you guys don't know what kindergarten is, essentially kindergarten is a school you go to when you're very, very young. Say when you're a toddler, I think. I'm not too sure, but I think when you're a toddler. And essentially you go through, you start at kindergarten, you finish that. Then you go to middle school, or you go to early year school. Then you go to middle school. Then you go to high school. When you complete high school, you go to university, or you do an apprenticeship, and then you go on to do a job in the future. And this is an example of a system we've created for humans, a structured system which we can follow to have a suitable and comfortable life. And this isn't bad, because without these systems there'll be no standards, and us humans will be very, very confused in regards to what direction or path to take. However, as time progresses, these systems are becoming more outdated, or are not sort of suitable for some people. And what I mean by normalizations is that we've created a normality around following these systems. We've said that these systems are mandatory. We have to follow them to reach that level of defined success, or have a comfortable life. And the point I'm trying to make here is that in today's world, new systems can be created. Your life can be used to create new systems. You can follow your own path. You can be an outlier which takes another path, or creates a brand new system. For example, you don't even need to go to college or university. I'm not endorsing that, but I'm saying that it could be a potential path. New systems day by day are being created because the world is changing so fast. So the point I'm trying to make is that you don't need to, well, I'm not going to speak on your behalf, but from my experience, it's super important to know what path you want to go on and not adhere to normalities which have been defined years and centuries ago. For example, I'm going to give you one that has been on my mind for a while. For example, I want to I want to enter education. I want to be a teacher when I grow up. And essentially, sometimes it doesn't really fit into the systems which have been created. For example, the systems which define that being a teacher is not a good way to earn a living or have enough money to sustain a family and also to fund a retirement. And these are systems which have been given certain variables in a way, or conditions, where we've already defined what jobs are not prosperous or what jobs are not considered good. Hence why people steer away from those pathways and follow the jobs which are prosperous and are defined as going to be very good in the future. And it's taken me quite some time to get off that rod, if you know what I mean. Go on to my own pathway and say, right, there's been a system defined here saying teaching may not be too prosperous in regards to pay and so on. But is that really important to me? Yes, it is in the long run, but according to and we all have our own philosophies, but I believe that if you follow your passion, abundance will also follow, because you're motivated to do more and you're motivated to do good work. So in a way, we can create our own systems with our own philosophies and understandings, and instead of adhering to these systems which have been defined ages and centuries ago, or more particularly by other people. So let me just summarize what I'm trying to say here, because I know I'm going in quite a ramble here. We have these defined systems which have been defined by other people, or have been defined ages ago, or even now, which don't really adhere to our life. What I'm saying is that we can define our own systems which define or help define our own version of success. Bottom line. The second pillar I'm going to talk about regarding the noise is listening to other people. I have had many people tell me, especially when I tell them what I want to do in the future, tell me that it's not possible, or it's not good enough, or it's not prosperous enough, or this and that. And essentially they fill your mind with self-doubt or negativity. However, some of their information is very useful. They're just trying to caution you, they're trying to build some more understanding around the situation you're currently in, which is totally fine. But sometimes there will be situations where you're not provided support. You expect support from these people, but instead they say, I don't think you should do that, or that's not possible, or essentially create that level of self-doubt or negativity. And there are people like that. They fill your head with noise which is unnecessary and negative. This is more particularly on social media, where certain things are advertised and are used to stir people in a certain direction through fear and through posting stuff which essentially fear-monger people. And more particularly, this is big with AI. There has been lots of posts online, there has been lots of articles online, and there's lots of fear-mongering around AI and how it's going to take over our jobs, especially ones we're extremely, extremely passionate for. Now, this is not a wrong fact, it's a very true fact. However, I feel like it's a very exaggerated fact. AI, in a way, is used to augment certain processes. Yes, it will take over certain processes, but there'll still be a need for some specialized individuals, or there'll still be a way to do what you love with using AI to augment your processes or taking advantage of technology currently available. So, in a way, it's just a way you think about situations and realize that some stuff is just exaggerated. When people say it's not possible due to AI or due to money or due to circumstances they believe, it's really coming from a personal opinion in a way, or it could be coming from facts. However, it's super important to rationalize those facts and those opinions from other people and realize that you're on your own pathway. You have a multitude of options and opportunities which you can create and is available. And most of all, do not base your confidence and your feelings towards a certain thing based upon other people's opinions and what they say. Let me give you an example. If someone says, for example, to me that teaching is not too prosperous, or rather, let's make it more contextual, AI will take over teaching. Well, that may be super true. That may be very true in the future. But, there may be a need for teachers to utilize AI or to learn how to utilize AI and already created resources to educate the youth and to help people. So it's just the way you think about a situation or the negativity being spewed by other people or on the news or the facts being spewed. They're not necessarily negative. Sometimes I'm just saying they're very exaggerated. And these exaggerated facts, figures, and opinions by other people can often steer you in an unauthentic pathway, which is something you're not happy with subconsciously. And this is what happened to me, It happened to me many times where I was often doing things due to fear, built by the noise of social media and other people. So let me recap what I've been saying this whole podcast episode, because I feel like I hope I'm going to hear this back today and see if I actually touched upon the point. So the first one is that our Earth and us humans have built systems which are systematically used to create standards in our world. And these standards are very good because they create a structure which we can follow and help define our level of success. However, these normalities which have been defined in these systems can be outdated and can be influenced by the noise of other people, fears by other people, social media, and so on. I'm saying that what I've realized personally and what really helped me is I can define my own system. In other words, I can define my own path. And this path will help define my version of success, not anybody's else, and so on. The next point I'm trying to make is that people will often talk a lot. They'll spit facts towards you, which you, to be honest, you have to take and learn from. And in other ways, they may actually spew negativity, unnecessary things, saying it's not possible, or they may spew exaggerated forms of opinions or this and that. After all, they may be trying to protect you, or they may be trying to do what's best for you, but it's super important to realize that for me personally, I realize I need to listen to myself. I need to realize when these forms of exaggerated opinions and facts are just moving me to an unauthentic direction. And when you realize that, and when you do, it really helps move you in a direction which is super authentic to who you are, and also most suitable for defining your level of success, especially when you don't listen to other people regards, you need to do that, or you need to do that. No, you need to do what you want to do. Unless it's bad, don't do it. If it's not bad, then do what you want. You block out the noise, because the noise is super exaggerated by fear mongering, by social media, and by things which are not really necessary. Some things are necessary, and it's super important not to catastrophize the news or the current situation of the earth. For example, if AI is being implemented in industries, instead of being scared that you won't be able to do what you love, realize that these components being introduced can be implemented in your workflow, can be used by you because you specialize in that field. You can further understand how these existing technologies can be used to benefit you and the industry properly. So that's just a mentality I adopted, and it may help you. It's just me sharing my stories, and I hope it really helps you guys out. Anyways, guys, thank you. And yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments. I don't really get many comments, to be honest. But yeah, please put in your comments, and then yeah, let's contemplate this. But anyways, guys, have a great week and weekend. See ya. Bye bye.